What does an 87-year-old man have to do with women in menopause? Well, at first glance, probably not much. But if you're a postmenopausal woman, you just might have more in common with my dad than you realize. In fact, there are three things that many postmenopausal women share with dad that you might not have thought about. And none of these things start in your 80s. They start decades earlier. Well, the first thing postmenopausal women have in common with my dad is the gradual loss of muscle strength. About 8 years ago, in 2018, my dad was about 79. He wasn't in perfect health, but he was doing reasonably well. He had high LDL cholesterol, he had high blood pressure, he was overweight, he ate a pretty standard American diet. He got very little exercise beyond a few walks around the neighborhood and maybe some yard work once a week. He also had atrial fibrillation, that's sort of an irregular heartbeat where your heart sort of flutters. He was taking a medication for that, along with drugs for blood pressure, cholesterol, and a few other things. His stride became a little shorter. He needed to sort of push off the arm of a chair in order to stand up. Then he got a little wobbly and maybe more likely to fall, so he started using a cane. He actually did fall a few times. Then eventually he had to move to a walker. What I was watching was my dad's sarcopenia, muscle weakness, frailty, muscle loss. Well, sarcopenia, or muscle weakness, is incredibly common in both men and women, especially women after menopause. Low muscle strength affects about 7% of women in their 40s, but nearly 80% of women in their 80s. When estradiol goes down, muscle metabolism changes. And then testosterone goes down about the same time, and muscle strength follows that. And that matters in women as well as in men. On average, adults lose about 1 to 1.5% of muscle mass per year after midlife, around age 50. Over decades, that 1.5% becomes pretty profound. And muscle loss isn't just cosmetic, it determines whether you can stand up easily, whether you can catch yourself when you trip, and even whether you can stay independent in your own house. Sarcopenia, frailty, the loss of muscle strength. The second thing postmenopausal women have in common with my dad is osteoporosis. Bone loss is pretty silent. You don't feel or see it happening until you fall. Nearly half of postmenopausal women are going to experience what's called a fragility fracture during their lifetime. After a hip fracture, many people never gain their independence back. Up to 30% of people with a hip fracture die within a year. Well, in January of 2025, my dad fell.
I was coming out of the shower
Yeah,
and I fell
yeah.
flat on my face and broke the hip. We finally got the paramedics to take me to the hospital.
Right.
You had to call them.
Oh, I had to do a bunch of physical stuff
Yeah.
and a bunch of operational or occupational therapy too.
Good. Good. Arms, breathe, 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 quick step. Much better. Doesn't hurt so bad. Thank you, Abby. Yeah. Big push step. Better. Good.
And you may notice in the middle of answering my questions, Dad started coughing.
And then,
It kept nagging at him for weeks and months and slowly got worse and worse. Along with that cough, his breathing also changed. It became a lot more labored. Moving from his wheelchair into his recliner left him pretty winded. Getting into a car became kind of a 15-minute ordeal that he really needed to recover from. You could hear the effort in his breathing even when he was sitting still. We scheduled my dad with a cardiologist. He performed what's called a CT angiogram. It's a specialized scan that uses a contrast dye to visualize the blood vessels supplying his heart. The angiogram shows whether those arteries are open or blocked. And one of my dad's coronary arteries, it's called the left anterior descending, or the widowmaker, was 95% blocked. Well, that's a classic case of coronary artery disease. It's the leading cause of death in both men and women. But coronary artery disease doesn't begin with a heart attack. It sort of builds quietly over decades. You accumulate plaque in your arteries. Those arteries get a little stiffer, and the blood flow narrows just gradually over time. Dad also had early signs of heart failure. His heart muscle, along with all of his other muscles, was starting to get a lot weaker, which is common. The cardiologist explained his options. He could do nothing, but he'd be risking a pretty massive heart attack maybe in the next few months. Or they could place a stent in his artery to restore the blood flow. It's like a little wire mesh tube that opens up the blood vessel. So Dad chose to have the stent placed. On January 27th, he went into the hospital cath lab for the procedure. My sister and I received a call a little bit afterwards. The stent had been placed successfully. Blood flow had been restored to my dad's heart, and he was in recovery. But this didn't start in that hospital cath lab. The last decade of my dad's life has been shaped by three things: sarcopenia, osteoporosis, and heart disease. Muscle weakness doesn't begin with a fall. Osteoporosis doesn't begin with a broken hip. And heart disease doesn't begin with a heart attack or even a stent. Those are already in motion long before that crisis point. And for many women, menopause is one of the key moments, sort of an inflection point, where estradiol drops and testosterone goes down, and those begin a cascade where your bone density starts to drop, and your arteries stiffen and narrow and become clogged, and your muscle mass starts to go down, and your muscle strength. Hormonal shifts don't just cause symptoms. They also change the trajectory of your health. So what you do in your 50s really shapes your 70s and your 80s. Watching my dad's gradual decline forced me to ask a hard question. What changes can Mary and I make so that our son doesn't have to watch us decline like we've had to watch my parents decline? So we've doubled down on what I call the 4 pillars of longevity and health span. 4 strategies that help us stay healthier longer. Pillar number 4 is sleep. We like to aim for 7 to 8 hours of high quality sleep, as many nights as possible. Good sleep improves our insulin sensitivity, supports heart health, and protects your brain, your cognitive function. Pillar number 3 is nutrition. Whole foods, more protein, more healthy fats, and less sugar whenever possible. We want to focus on foods that lower whole body inflammation, support the gut microbiome, the healthy bacteria, and reduce insulin resistance. We also supplement strategically where we need to with evidence-based support. Pillar 2 is movement. Resistance training and cardio, mostly on our bikes. Strength training with weights protects our muscles and our bones and reduces our risk for falls. It also improves our insulin sensitivity. Cardio strengthens our hearts and helps to prevent that arterial narrowing and stiffness that leads to heart attacks eventually. Cardio is uncomfortable. It sucks in the moment, but over time, it pays dividends. Pillar number 1 is hormone optimization, making sure our hormones aren't too high and they're not too low, but they're just right. Not only relieves many symptoms of low hormones, but it also helps us in the long term. Just right hormones can reduce or eliminate symptoms, but more importantly, they support muscle, bone, and cardiovascular health. These 4 pillars change the trajectory of our health over the next 20 or 30 years. Well, a couple hours after that first phone call, the one where the doctor said the stent had been placed successfully and my dad was recovering, my phone rang again. I was at Costco. It was my sister calling. The cardiologist was on the line. I knew this wasn't a good sign. Dad's blood pressure had dropped pretty seriously. He had gone into what's called ventricular fibrillation, which is just a fluttering heart that's not really beating. They had called a code red, and they were shocking his heart, trying to get it to beat again. The doctor said they worked on him for the last 27 minutes. And the doctor said, "We can still keep going, but it doesn't look good." So I spoke with my brother and my sister, and we made the decision to call the code and let Dad go. The official cause of death on his death certificate is myocardial ischemia as a consequence of coronary artery disease. So my dad became one of the 67% of people who die from cardiovascular disease. He was also one of the nearly 30% of people who die within 1 year, almost to the day, of breaking a hip. His sarcopenia and muscle weakness likely made him 2 or 3 times more likely to die of heart disease. But my dad was more than a statistic. He was always there for me. After he passed, my siblings and I spoke with the nurse at his assisted living facility. She's a tough nurse who handles demanding patients every single day. She had tears streaming down her face when she said, "I have to tell you, he was my favorite little old man here. He even played his banjo for me. Badly, but it was so sweet of him. I'm really going to miss Jim." Well, Jim Goldring had a really big heart. It just gave out too soon. And as much as we all miss him, especially my mom, I know this didn't begin in the cath lab in that hospital. It began decades earlier, with muscles slowly fading, with bones quietly thinning, with arteries gradually narrowing and becoming clogged. The beginning wasn't dramatic, it wasn't sudden, but it was kind of predictable. Frailty rarely begins with a fall. Osteoporosis rarely begins with a fracture. Heart disease doesn't begin with a heart attack. They begin long before those crisis moments. Well, I've been accused of fear-mongering in the past, and this is not fear-mongering. This is my real life and my family's real life. Menopause isn't something to fear, but it is something to take seriously. It's an opportunity to protect your muscles, your bones, your heart, to shape that marginal decade before you ever even get there. My dad's story ended in the recovery room of a cardiac cath lab in a hospital, but yours doesn't have to. If you're serious about changing your long-term health trajectory and protecting your heart from coronary artery disease, start with this video next. Thanks so much for joining me.